Good morning, students. I hope you all are doing well and safe. Today, I am going to discuss one of the most important phenomena of fundamentals of human geography, known as migration. I will start with a short story on migration so that you could know how the migration works in India and basically what are the effects and consequences of it. Ram Babu, working as an engineer in Bhilai steel plant, Chhattisgarh, was born in a small village of district Bhojpur, Bihar. At an early age of 12, he moved to a nearby town known as Ara to complete his intermediate level studies. He went to Sindri, Jharkhand for his engineering degree and he got a job at Bhilai where he is living for the last 31 years. His parents were illiterate and the only source of their livelihood was meager income from agriculture. They spent their whole life in that village. Ram Babu has three children who got their education up to the intermediate level at Bhilai and then moved to different places for higher education. First one studied at Allahabad and Mumbai and is presently working in Delhi as a scientist. The second child got her higher education from different universities in India and is now working in USA. The third one, after finishing her education, settled at Surat after marriage. This is not a story of only Ram Babu and his children, but such movements are increasingly becoming universal trend. People have been moving from one village to another, from villages to towns, from smaller towns to bigger towns, and from one country to another. As we can see from this story, that uh, first first there was a migration from a small village to town related to job opportunities. Then there was also a migration due to marriage, higher education, and job opportunities. Migration has been an integral part and a very important factor in redistributing population over time and space. India has witnessed the waves of migrants coming to the country from Central and West Asia and also from Southeast Asia. In fact, the history of India is a history of waves of migrants coming and settling one after another in different parts of the country. I will give you a brief about Indian diaspora. Indian diaspora means what is the effect of Indian people who have migrated to other parts of the world. Uh, right from our history, like during colonial period, which is known as the British period, millions of indentured laborers were sent to Mauritius, Caribbean islands like Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, Fiji and South Africa by British from Indian states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar to Reunion Island, Guadeloupe, Martinique and Suriname by French and Dutch, and by Portuguese from Goa, Daman and Diu to Angola, Mozambique to work as plantation workers. All such migrations were covered under the time-bound contract known as Jermic Act, which is also known as Indian Immigration Act. This act was for the people who were transferred or made to migrate against their will to different parts of the world. However, the living conditions of these indentured laborers were not better than the slaves. The second wave of migrants ventured out into the neighboring countries in recent times as professionals, artisans, traders, and factory workers in search of economic opportunities to Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and African countries. And the trend still continues. There was a steady outflow of India's semi-skilled and skilled laborers in the wake of the oil known in West Asia in the 1970s. There was also some outflow of entrepreneurs, store owners, professional businessmen to Western countries. Third wave of migrant was comprised professionals like doctors, engineers, 1960s onwards, software engineers, management consultants, financial experts, media persons from 1980 onwards, and others migrated to countries such as USA, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. These professionals enjoy the distinction of being one of highly educated, the highest earning and prospering groups. After liberalization in the 90s, education and knowledge based Indian immigration has made Indian diaspora one of the most powerful diasporas in the world. In all these countries, Indian diaspora has been playing an important role in development of the respective countries. So, these are the two short stories of migration. The first one of Ram Babu tells how the migration starts in India, and the second one about the Indian diaspora tells you about uh, what is the effect of Indian skilled people moving from India to various parts of the world. So now let's start with our presentation on migration. So, what is migration? From these two stories, we came to know that migration, when an individual or a group of people moves from one place to another, from one political boundary to another for lesser or longer period or permanently, this movement of people is called as migration. It has several effects, like it affects the population density, pattern, and structure of any location in question. Like people will migrate from a certain area to a certain area. So the donor region, known as the people from where the people are moving, and the recipient means where the people are going. So there are these effects are on the both part, like the donor region also and the recipient region also. Like population density, the donor region population density will decrease, whereas the recipient region's density will increase. Pattern and structure of any location. There will be overcrowding in certain parts, and there will be very sparse population in certain locations. Like consider the example of Maharashtra. We can see the high population density and overcrowding in parts like Mumbai, Pune, and some part like Nagpur. And there is very less population in parts like Gadchiroli, Latur, Beed districts. So, so in this way, there are many effects on the population density, pattern, and structure of any location in question. The migration can be classified based on their region, intention or purpose, distance, etc. Like there may be many intentions for better job opportunities, females move due to marriage reasons, some economic, natural disasters, etc. We would discuss all these reasons in detail in our following presentation. Now, data analysis of migration. So there are two graphs on this page, which gives you a brief idea how what is the data till now for for the migrants from various parts of India to other countries. A few facts pertaining to the internal migration within the country and international migration, which is known as out of the country, and also international migration includes people coming into India from different countries are presented here. Under the internal migration, four streams are identified. The two graph on the right shows rural to rural R to R migration, rural to urban RU migration, urban to urban U to U migration, and urban to rural UR migration. In India, during 2001, out of 315 million migrants enumerated on the basis of the last residence, 98 million had changed their place of residence in the last 10 years. Out of these, 81 million were intrastate migrants. The stream was dominated by female migrants. Most of these were migrants related to marriage. The distribution of male and female migrants in different streams of intrastate and interstate migration is presented in that graph. It is clearly evident that females predominate the streams of short distance rural to rural migration in both types, like in both intra and interstate. Intrastate means from one state to another state, like from Maharashtra to Gujarat, Maharashtra to Uttar Pradesh, or like Bihar to Uttar Pradesh. And interstate means in a particular state, like from Amravati to Latur, or from Nagpur to Pune. So in this both graph, it is clearly evident that females predominate the streams of short distance rural to rural migration in both types of migration. Contrary to this, men predominate the rural to urban stream of interstate migration due to economic reasons, like basically for job reasons. Like the people migrate from Nagpur, Amravati, Vidarbha regions to Pune, Mumbai for better job opportunities. Apart from these streams of internal migration, India also experiences immigration from and emigration to the neighboring countries. Immigration, like immigration means people coming from different parts to India. Table 2.1 uh, in the left corner presents the details of migrants from neighboring countries. Indian Census 2001 has recorded that more than 5 million persons have migrated to India from other countries. Out of these, 96% came from the neighboring countries. Bangladesh, 3 million, followed by Pakistan, 0.9 million, and Nepal, 0.5 million. Included in these are 0.16 million refugees from Tibet, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, and Myanmar. As far as emigration from India is concerned, it is estimated that there are around 20 million people of Indian diaspora spread across 110 countries. Now we will move forward to another topic, which is known as causes of migration. So what causes migration? What thought comes into the mind of people migrating to a different place? So we will see the factors which affect the thought process of people to migrate to another place. People generally are emotionally attached to their place of birth, but millions of people leave their places of birth and residence. There could be variety of reasons for this. These reasons can be put into two broad categories as push factors and pull factors. First, I will go with push factor. Push factor, these causes people to leave their place of residence or origin, and pull factors which attract the people from different places. In India, people migrate from rural to urban areas mainly due to poverty, high population pressure on the land, lack of basic infrastructural facilities like healthcare, education, etc. Apart from these factors, natural disasters such as flood, drought, cyclonic storms, an earthquake, tsunami, wars, and local conflicts also give extra push to migrate. On the other hand, there are pull factors which attract people from rural areas to cities. The most important pull factor for majority of rural migrants to urban areas is the better opportunities, availability of regular work and relative higher wages, better opportunities for education, better health facilities and sources of entertainment, etc. are also quite important pull factors. On the basis of many figures and data, it can be seen that reasons for migration of males and females are different. For example, work and employment have remained the main cause for male migration, which is 38%, where while it is only 3% for females. Contrary to this, about 65% of females move out from their parental houses following their marriage. This is the most important cause in the rural areas of India, as we have seen in the previous slide, graph on the previous slide. So in this slide on the right side, there are some push factors and pull factors. Like what are the push factors? Mainly unemployment, lack of safety, lack of services, poverty, crop failure, drought, war, civil unrest, hazards, and isolation. Contrary to this, what are the pull factors that bring the people to a particular locations like potential for employment, a safer atmosphere, better service provision, good wealth, fertile land, good food supplies, political security, less risk of natural hazards, friends and family. So these are the basic causes of migration. This slide basically explains the global predictors of migration flows. Like on the pie chart shows the global predictors of migration flows, social networks and communities, economic status of country of origin, age and education, economic status of destination country, cultural and linguistic factors, geographical proximity. The most dominant factor is the social networks and communities. This is a basic classification of migration on the basis of region and on the basis of duration. On the basis of region, internal migration and eternal migration. Internal migration within a political boundary of a country, from state to state or from city to city. Eternal migration, here the people leave the boundaries of one country to other for pursuing their education, for good job opportunities, or due to some war region like in Syria, people migrate to a completely different countries. On the basis of duration, short term, the migration can be limited time or seasonal, like on contract basis, laborers migrate from one city to another city uh, as a construction workers, or students migrate to another place for their education. Long term, this can be when people move to a completely different place for residency. Reasons or causes for migration, as we discussed earlier, the push and pull factors. Here are some of the reasons for migration that can be of following kind. What are the physical reasons? Because of some natural disaster or disorder, like during the Bhopal gas tragedy, which happened in India. The residents of Bhopal migrated to nearby parts in Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra or Rajasthan. The other reason might be economic, in search of financial stability for one's own family. Social, this can be because of some social discomfort like discrimination, education, racism, health, etc. Political, war or political problems may arise in a country, like lakhs of people migrated from India to Pakistan and Pakistan to India during the India-Pakistan war. Now we will discuss the consequences of migration. This explains what happens after migration. We studied the factors which are responsible for migration, but what will be the effects or the consequences of migration? Migration is a response to the uneven distribution of opportunities over space. People tend to move from place of low opportunity and low safety to the place of higher opportunity and better safety. This in turn creates both benefits and problems for the areas people migrate from and migrate to. Consequences can be observed in economic, social, cultural, political, and demographic terms. Take a minute and go through the points I have presented on consequences of migration. So we will begin with economic consequences. A major benefit for the source region is the remittance sent by migrants. Means the people migrated from one country to another, like from India to Dubai. Remittances from international migrants are one of the major sources of foreign exchange. In 2002, India received $11 billion as remittances from international migrants. Punjab, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu receive very significant amount from the international migrants. The amount of remittances sent by internal migrants is very small as compared to international migrants, but it plays an important role in the growth of economy of the source area. Remittances are mainly used for food, repayments of debts, treatment, marriages, children's education, agricultural inputs, construction of houses, etc. For thousands of the poor villages of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, remittances work as lifeblood for the economy. Migration from rural areas of eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Odisha to the rural areas of Punjab, Haryana. Western Uttar Pradesh accounted for the success of their Green Revolution strategy for agricultural development. Besides this, unregulated migration to the metropolitan cities of India has caused overcrowding, Development of slums in industrially developed states such as Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Delhi is a negative consequence of unregulated migration within the country. Now, what are demographic consequences? Migration leads to redistribution of the population within a country. Like certain parts have high population density and certain parts have very low. Rural urban migration is one of the important factors contributing to the population growth of cities. Age and skill selective out migration from the rural areas have adverse effect on the rural demographic structure. However, high out migration from Uttaranchal, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and eastern Maharashtra have brought serious imbalances in age and sex composition in these states. Similar imbalances are also brought in the recipient states. What is the recipient state? So these are all demographic consequences which creates an imbalance in compositions due to migration. Now, what are the social consequences? What what effect does the migration have on the society? Migrants act as agents of social change. The new ideas related to new technologies, family planning, girls' education, etc., gets diffused from urban to rural areas through them. Migration leads to intermixing of people from diverse cultures. It has positive contributions such as evolution of composite culture and breaking through the narrow considerations and widens up the mental horizon of the people at large. But it also has serious negative consequences such as anonymity, which creates social vacuum and sense of dejection among individuals. Continued feeling of dejection may motivate people to fall in trap of antisocial activities like crime and drug abuse. As we know, there are some good effects and bad impacts of every type of phenomena going on. So migration also has its positive side as well as negative side. Now, what are the environmental consequences? Overcrowding of people due to rural to urban migration has put pressure on the existing social and physical infrastructure in the urban areas. This ultimately leads to unplanned growth of urban settlement and formation of slums colonies. Apart from this, due to overexploitation of natural resources, cities are facing the acute problem of depletion of groundwater, air pollution, disposal of sewage, and management of solid waste. So, in summary, these are the consequences of migration. Others include like migration, excluding the marriage, affects the status of women directly or indirectly. In the rural areas, male select male selective out migration is leaving their wives behind, puts extra physical as well as mental pressure on the women. Migration of women, either for education or employment, enhances their autonomy and role in the economy, but also increases their vulnerability. If remittances are the major benefits of migration from the point of view of the source region, the loss of human resources, particularly highly skilled people, is the most serious cause. Likewise, see, the remittances are benefiting the state, but the states or the country are also losing very high skilled students, high skilled laborers, which could contribute to the development of the host country. The market for advanced skills have become truly a global market, and the most dynamic industrial economies are admitting and recruiting significant proportions of the highly trained professionals from poor regions. Consequently, the existing underdevelopment in the source region gets reinforced. So the graph at the right corner of the slide shows the reasons for male migration and reasons for the female migration. As we can see in the female migration, the highest contribution of 65% is by marriage, and in male, the highest contribution of 38% is by work or employment. So these are the consequences of migration. This slide explains the Indian map explains the large number of people moving places for work inside the country. So as we can see, the highest one is Mumbai 33.2, Dadar and Nagar Haveli 36.1, Daman 52.1. So these are the red places on Indian map shows the highest people who have migrated from certain parts of India to the particular place. The right table shows where Indians migrate. Like, well, where does the people from India goes into the world? Like UAE, 3.5 millions of Indians are settled in UAE. Next, US 2 million, Saudi Arabia 1.9 million, Kuwait 1 million, Oman zero point 0.7 million, UK zero point 0.7 million, Qatar zero point 0.6, and there are many other countries where the Indians have settled. So this is what I was talking about of the Indian diaspora during the start of this presentation. This this slide mainly explains the migrations due to the economic reasons in search of good opportunities like jobs, education, etc. Social reasons for migration, like there were certain violences in Delhi or communal wars in Gujarat. This also leads for migration of people from that particular region where the people see that there is no future for their children or the upcoming generation. This is the example for partition of India is one of the prime example of migration in political aspects war. So this was all about migrations. We started from a story of Ram Babu which explained how migration goes in India. The Indian diaspora explained or showcased the presence of Indian communities all over the world. Then we studied what migration is, what are the factors that causes migration, how people have migrated in India, like from India to different countries, also people from various states of India to different states of India, the factors contributing to the migration, consequences of migration. So this is all about migration. Thank you so much for listening to this video, and I will appreciate if you have any questions. Thank you.